In cities like São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and Brasilia, tens of thousands of former President Bolsonaro's loyal supporters gathered, waving the Brazilian flag and even the American flag, a nod to his ally, U.S. President Donald Trump. On Brazil's Independence Day, what should have been a moment of national unity instead revealed deep divisions across the country. In a dramatic display of political polarization, dueling rallies erupted in support of and against former President Jair Bolsonaro. Just days before the Supreme Court is set to deliver a verdict that could see him sentenced to more than 40 years in prison for allegedly plotting a coup after his 2022 election defeat, Brazil once again found itself split down the middle. Research from the University of São Paulo estimated that 40,000 supporters rallied in São Paulo alone, where Bolsonaro's wife, Michelle, delivered an emotional speech. Fighting back tears, she insisted that her husband was a patriot who loves his nation and people and would ultimately be vindicated. Yet across the same cities, thousands of others marched demanding Bolsonaro's conviction. They see him not as a victim of persecution, but as a dangerous figure who sought to overturn the will of voters. Many rallied against proposals to grant him amnesty, warning that forgiving his alleged role in the January 8, 2023 storming of Brazil's institutions, eerily reminiscent of the US Capitol attack, would undermine democracy itself. The legal stakes for Bolsonaro are enormous. At 70 years old, the former army captain has been under house arrest while facing charges that could lock him away for decades. Though barred from running until 2030, his supporters cling to the hope of a political comeback. His eldest son, Senator Flavio Bolsonaro, fueled that hope by appearing in Rio de Janeiro wearing a shirt reading Bolsonaro 2026, even though the former leader is legally ineligible. He also lashed out at Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, calling him a dictator and framing the trial as a battle for Brazil's future. But this courtroom drama is not just a domestic affair, it has become entangled in international politics. Donald Trump, furious at what he calls a witch hunt, has retaliated by slapping Brazil with steep tariffs and sanctions on the justices presiding over Bolsonaro's trial. President Lula da Silva, who led the official Independence Day military parade in Brasilia under the slogan "Sovereign Brazil," fired back in his national address, declaring that the country will not be anyone's colony. His message was a thinly veiled rebuke to Trump's heavy-handed economic measures. The crowd at Lula's parade echoed this sentiment, condemning Trump's tariffs as a direct assault on Brazil's independence. Protesters accused the US of trying to invade Brazil both politically and economically, warning against foreign interference. The tension has only deepened as Lula called for an emergency BRICS meeting to discuss a collective response to US tariffs, signaling a brewing confrontation between Washington and the emerging bloc of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. At the heart of this standoff lies a question that will define Brazil's path forward. Can the nation hold a former president accountable for alleged crimes without tearing itself apart? Supporters of amnesty argue that forgiveness is the key to national healing, while Lula and his allies counter that overlooking Bolsonaro's alleged role in the January 8th insurrection would embolden future threats to democracy. As Brazil marks its independence, it faces a test of its sovereignty not just against external pressures, but within its own borders. Bolsonaro's trial is more than a legal proceeding. It is a battle over the soul of Brazilian democracy, one playing out under the shadow of US sanctions, Trump's influence, and a polarized society. By Friday, the Supreme Court will issue its ruling. But whatever the verdict, one thing is clear: Brazil's struggle for true independence, in politics, in justice, and in global affairs, is far from over.